welcome to Happiness Matters, the show where our guests share their stories and insights to inspire you, encourage you, motivate you, and so much more. I'm your host, Beanie Man, and my super awesome co-host, Mo the Service Dog, and we're brought to you by Mopo TV. Make sure you stay tuned for the newest episode every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, or catch the replays as well as any of the other great shows on mopotv.com. That is www.mopotv.com. So today it is my privilege and honor to introduce to you our guest for today. Please help me welcome my friend Jojo from Jojo's Mojo.
Yo.
Jojo's Mojo. I love that. Welcome, Jojo. I'm so excited that you're here. And why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
I am Joanna Clyer, and I'm the baby of 5 children. And I loved being the baby because I had the best part of my life. My parents, I got clothes, I got taken out. I love my family because I'm the baby. And I actually trained to be a motivational speaker as well as an author, international selling author in book compilations. And I love to help people, keep them from hurting themselves in any way, physically, emotionally, mentally, or verbally. I'm here for an advocate for victims' rights and a child of domestic violence. And I would, through the House Helping Hands, as the president, I want to help people get out of toxic relationships and into their happiness and joy and peace.
Did you say happiness?
I did.
I love that. You also have a show on Mopo TV, Jojo's Mojo. Tell us a little bit about that real quick.
Yes, it is so exciting because I interview champions. I interview people that have come from zero to hero. They have come a long way because they want to get better, and I want to get better. And we have an opportunity to interview people just like us, you, Beanie, and myself, to bring their stories out so they heal and so we can heal others. And this is a massive movement. And Happiness Matters is an amazing platform. And let's take this to the top.
All right. I'm okay with that. I know, I love that. And you're right, it is so important. And there's so many people out there who really feel they're all alone. And, you know, they don't have a voice or any of that. And I've been there. You've been there. We've all been there at some point or another. So I love what you do. And
thank you.
I was honored to be a guest on your show too. So I'm like, yay.
Yeah, that's coming. That's coming soon. It will be one of the last interviews of season 1 for me. And It's been an exciting adventure. I've learned a lot about myself and what I can help for others. It's not about me.
You're right. It really isn't. And whatever we do, it's really not about us. We're having fun doing it, but it's at the end of the day, it's really not about us. It's how can we enhance other people's lives? How can we help them be a better and gooder is a word. I use gooder. Okay. So I'm going to put that out there right now. I use the word gooder. And my editor, when I wrote my first book, she actually used the word gooder. And I was so excited because I thought I was the only one. And I laughed and I said, wait, you're an editor and you use the word gooder. So it is a real word, right? And she laughs and she says, I write gooder than I speak. Anyway, I just had to throw that out there real quick.
Well, that's how words are created. They're created by people and put in a book.
Oh, yeah. I make up words all the time because, you know, the German and the English, and sometimes it's really just a Dinglish word. And I get the funny look. So anyway, we're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back. welcome back. I'm here again, Beanie, me, and Mo, the service dog, who is around here somewhere. And of course, my awesome guest, Jojo, with Jojo's Mojo on Mopo TV. And since this show is all about happiness, and I know you have had some really dark times where happiness really was nowhere to be found. And you found your way back out into the light and into the happiness. Do you want to share a little bit about that with our audience?
Yes, I would love to.
Nice.
In the beginning, there was Joanna, and then there was life.
Yeah, there's that.
Let me just start by saying life is school. Mm. And as a student of life, you can learn whatever you decide to. There's always been limitations. I grew up in a very strong, legalistic Christian upbringing. And there was a lot of do's and a lot of don'ts, but mostly the lot of don'ts affected me. Mm. It put a lot of limiting beliefs onto me. My parents did an awesome job as far as doing the best that they knew of what they knew at the time. I did a family reunion recently, and I learned a little bit more about my background. My grandmothers were pretty wild, actually, in Texas. They, my mom
out on the range, right?
Yeah, well, my mom was born in a railroad car.
Oh,
because her grandfather built the railroads in America, across America. And they were like little cities. But the reason why I had such trauma was because my dad's mother was married to 3 alcoholics, one worse than the next. He also lived in a tent for 5 years and saw things as a boy he should not have. And he had no stability. In Texas, there was a movie hall where this man owned this movie hall and would invite the kids for a safe place to come and perform and get up on stage and sing.
How cool is that?
It was wonderful. And my town of Duarte actually has a teen center where all the kids go when they don't know where to go. It keeps them off the streets, it gives them activities, and it keeps them off drugs and alcohol. And it creates a community. Well, he came from that. My mom was the oldest of 5 children. Her mother was sick all the time, and she stood in as a sissy mom.
What's a sissy mom?
Yeah, she was very close to her dad. And once she left, she met my dad at as a soda jerk in a liquor store. And she would make the sodas, the ice cream shakes, and all that kind of stuff. And my dad came in there with his buddy. His buddy was interested in my mom. But my mom got my dad's address and was writing back and forth for 2 years. So they met at 14, and he came for her hand at 17.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so they have their own, I mean, everybody's got their own traumas, their own backgrounds that they bring to the table. Well, my mom's mom was addicted to pain meds. And my mom's, my dad's mom died at 56. And she was a very active person sexually. So she died of cervical cancer.
Oh, wow.
In our previous generation, there was a lot of survival mode, not thriving mode. And I use that in my speech because a lot of us are down at the bottom, but don't realize that it's just a ceiling that we're hitting that our parents put there in our previous generations. So I was taught a lot of limiting beliefs. You can't do this, you can't do that. And there was a lot of things I could do, but you know how it is when you're a kid, all the negative things, they override the positive things until you get older. But my beginnings as my father was a war veteran of 13 and a half years in the Army, Navy, and Air Force. He left in 1966, and my brother died he left in 1964, and my brother died as 7 years old, cancer in 1966, and I was born in 70.
Oh, wow.
And yes. And my dad, because of his rough childhood, running the streets, having no parents to guide him, and seeing a lot of things he shouldn't have seen, caused a lot of post-traumatic stress disorder. And 13 years in the service created even more PTSD, and which created a lot of blackouts and drinking for himself. So there's addiction coming from both sides. And I realized at a young age that I'd never felt safe at home, that my mom would always go outside and play, go outside and play. She didn't want me in the house because every time we went in the house, it was a very stressful time, especially when my dad would come home. She didn't know how to deal with it because she was very young when she married him.
Gotcha.
And she would freeze. And so she didn't know what to do. And at that time, they had no social services. And she felt stuck.
Right. And back then, PTSD wasn't a thing. I mean, people were just dealing with it because there was no name for it. I mean, the condition was there, but there was no awareness of it. There was no treatment for it, no nothing, which makes that even harder then.
Yeah, that's correct. And I ended up freezing just like my mother froze. Whenever something arises, I actually was picked up by my father as an infant in a blackout rage when he was drinking. And I just found out more about it just recently. And it does explain, there's a doctor, I can't remember his name right now, but he's a brain doctor. And one time, 2 or 3 months ago, I was listening to him and he said that any child or baby up to 2 months of age who see any kind of traumas, it affects their brain and their central nervous system so much that they're more prone to alcohol, drug addiction.
Wow.
And I had put everything together and realized now that I have PTSD to not as extreme as some people, but I blocked everything out. I drank to numb myself from the age of 21 because I had to do everything by the book because I was raised that lightning was going to come down to strike me in the head, of course. So I did everything by the book. I did everything I was supposed to do, but I didn't know how to handle life. I didn't know how to handle stress. And I did notice over the years that because my dad was the way he was being triggered by any kind of noise or stress, and he would drink, black out, and he would physically harm my sister and my brother, my oldest sister and my older brother, and then raise me and then stop and put me down. And my oldest sister was actually there for that. And I didn't actually eat. My mom told me before she died, I didn't eat when I was a baby and an infant because I was lifted up and I was under a lot of stress. And she had to literally give me to another mother to try to breastfeed. And she prayed to her church to get me to eat because I wasn't eating.
Oh, wow.
And so I put all these little things together, even now, just now at 51 years old, not in addiction anymore, in recovery, the 12-step program.
Congratulations.
And thank you. Well, one thing people need to understand about addiction is when you take the substances, it numbs you. It also goes to the central nervous system, the brain, and the organs, and it affects your decision making. If you already have a pre-existing condition like PTSD or trauma, what it does is something will happen, it'll trigger you. I didn't act out on people. I literally destroyed myself because I saw what it did to my family. I saw what it did to my mother. But my story was great because my mother and my father, in a rage, my mom was pulled out when I was 15 years old. I lived in that environment till 15 years old. My dad physically attacked my mother, and my sister was there doing her laundry with her daughter. And she said, "Mom, you're going with me right now." So at that point, my mom said, "You are not going to treat me like that." And she owned the love for herself, the love for her children. At
Oh, I have chills. That is amazing. That's awesome.
58 years old. And I had the experience of watching that. I had the experience of watching my dad be sober for 12 years, not hitting her after that point, getting help. That's why I get help. And I just want to send a message out there. Anybody suffering from drug, alcohol addiction, PTSD, bipolar disorder, major depression, the reason why you're doing that is because it's shoved way so far down deep into your being, into the core of who you are. And it changed everything that you could have been. And it stresses you out to the point it makes you sick. So the way we think will make us sick. And I want people to realize you don't need that to numb yourself out. You have to learn to feel the feels and do it anyway. It is hard. It is scary. And I did an interview one time where the lady was explaining she put a cover over her head after she had been in an accident to hide. Well, that's what you do when you're scared. Fight or flight response will cause you to hide and sneak and lie and cheat and steal and do all these sorts of bad things to your family. And it's just because you're running from the pain.
Right.
And our generations have taught us to run from the pain. But in my generation, we're not going to run from the pain, because when my parents got help, it was a shift in my life, because I went into my dad's room and I started talking to him. I would give him a hug and I tell him that I love him. I would get chills to my bone because he hurt me so bad that I didn't realize. I had no idea. I always thought he just hurt my mom, at the time. And then later my brother. And then I just put everything together. He died 23 years ago. My mom died 3 years ago. And this last year has been very enlightening. If I get a fear, I breathe. I learn meditation. Meditation is key to your life.
Well, meditation is amazing. It's fantastic.
So if you're feeling anxiety, work on your breathing first. You don't even have to do any kind of messages or anything. Just stop, breathe, and become aware. And I've done so many classes, and I've wanted to get better for so long, but I would numb it with alcohol and food and just
For me,
buying.
it was food for a long time.
It's like buying unnecessary things, clothes, programs as an adult, just spending amounts and amounts, huge amounts of money because of stress, because I didn't know how to deal with life. I didn't even know how to say no to myself nor others. So it's been hard, but hard. It's like going to the gym, right? You build your muscles, you break down your muscles, and then you build more muscle. And that's what life is. And it's an amazing journey, but I have inside courage. And the reason why I have courage was because my dad had courage. He had a lot of things that went against him and our family, but he rose because my mom said no more. So I say no more to anybody who's going to mistreat me or talk bad to me or down to me. I'm going to speak up for myself. And in recovery, I've learned to have a voice. In motivational speaking with Power of Les Brown and John Tallarico, I've learned to have my voice, and I'm learning to tell my story. And it's just been an amazing, amazing, amazing journey. And to find out why I was the way I was. And I was just talking to my 18-year-old daughter and telling her everything last night. I cry now and I feel now, and I don't feel bad about it, because we don't. Being a human being, we have all these feelings. When we lose, we have the feeling of loss, but we go through the mourning process, and everything, there's an end, there's another beginning. And I learned that in the books from Henry Cloud, Boundaries by Henry Cloud, Necessary Endings by Henry Cloud and Townsend. And they were the first psychologists that opened up facilities for clinically depressed people. And my mom did all that reading. She went to Al-Anon. I went to AA meetings. Recovery is the answer. And I was in a book called Resilience to Greatness. And Rial Panini told me, Joanna, I need you to put the 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous in your chapter. And that was the first chapter I wrote, because people need to hear about recovery.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I totally agree. And it's so important. And so many, it's like, and I've heard it, I don't have a problem. Really? How is your life going for you?
Yeah.
But we'll talk a little bit more after the break. We'll be right back. Welcome back with me, Beanie Man, and awesome Jojo. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, because you touched on that with the fear. We go in that fight or flight. And what I have learned in my journey of overcoming and, becoming me and all of that is, once we face our fears, and we realize it's like, why was I even scared? It wasn't really as scary as we make it out to be. I mean, we really make an elephant out of a teeny tiny flea, but it's our mind playing tricks on us, and we're just like really blowing everything so out of proportion, and we don't even realize we're doing this, but we buy into the lie, hook, line, and sinker. And we go into this full, and I've been there, guilty as charged, full-blown victimhood. Poor me and blah, blah, blah. And why is this happening to me? And you all should feel sorry for me. And it's just this, and I love this term, and I just recently learned it, is that self-licking ice cream cone, right? And it just continues on. And it doesn't stop. You go into that loop, and until you realize you're in this loop and you really stop, and it's also called, some people might know it as shadow work. You face your fears. And is it scary? Heck yeah, it's scary. But here's the thing, and I use that analogy too. Remember when you were a teenager and it became time for you to drive the car for the first time. You remember how super excited you were? I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot wait. I cannot wait. It's like, oh, I finally get to drive, da, da, da. Then the day comes. You're like, oh my gosh, I get to drive. Oh, this is so exciting, right? You get behind the wheel and you freeze, and fear grips you, because now, you're still excited, don't get me wrong, right? But you sit behind this wheel, and now you're told you have to pay attention to this and 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 this, and it's overwhelming. And you get scared. It's like, oh my God, I never can do this, da, 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 right? But you were so excited to do it because you knew what was on the other side of that. And that's with anything in life, right? So you did it anyway, but you did it scared. And that's with anything in life. It's like, it's okay to be scared, but find out why you're scared. Is there really a reason to be scared? Or are you afraid of the what ifs? All the what ifs that could go wrong. Well, stop focusing on that. Focus on all the what ifs that could go right. Same effort. Energy output, effort is exactly the same. And see, now you get in the car, you don't even think about it anymore. You just go and you drive. You don't even worry about it. And it's the same with everything else. But it's like you work past that fear, you do it scared. And it becomes less scary because it becomes more and more familiar. And
Yes.
See, for me, fear is false evidence appearing real. Because it's a lie. If your life really is in danger, like you're being chased by an animal or mass murder or whatever, run. That's a legitimate fear. But most of the things that we fear and we tell ourselves we're afraid of, some of we may have adopted from family and friends and our peers and everyone around us. But it's like, once we face that, it changes everything. Isn't it? I look at you, and I had the honor, you were staying at my house when your flight got canceled. So we had a chance to really get to know each other. And I just admire you because you're like, you know what? Yeah, this happened. This is rough. I still have a road ahead, but it's like, you know what? I got this. I can do this. Am I scared? Yes, but I do it anyway. And I just so admire that in you.
I truly appreciate that. Thank you, Beanie, very much.
It is so awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, everybody has it in them, but it's because you listen to everybody else about what you are. You listen to every messaging that's out there. You have to be this way. You have to be that way. And in America, I went to go visit Australia one time. I liked a guy over there, and he made a comment about us Americans. He said that in Australia, they think that we're shallow. And I kind of can understand that because look at all the shows. All the actresses are stick thin. The one I like, the show I like, the Gilmore Girls, one of my favorites. The actresses are so skinny and they look sick. It's like, and it's because it's superficial. I love when they have actors that are all shapes and sizes. You mean real? In the British TV, yeah. In the British TV, they have all sizes. Same
in Germany. See, I grew up in Germany. And people are like, you are so blunt. I'm like, yeah, I'm like straightforward and honest. We don't sugarcoat. It's like, you know what? Yeah, this is how it is.
Well, and actually in some parts of America, actually Michelle Mopo is from Jersey. And I've really, as soon as I've been in the Mopo Entertainment world, I've noticed she's really straightforward. She's really straight and direct. Some
Mhm.
places you have to be a little bit more politically correct. Otherwise, people are going to jump down your throat if you don't agree with them. And I've had that
Yeah.
happen even with personal situations. But as far as fear is concerned, it is an obstacle that we put in front of us. We put in front of us from outside sources.
Mhm.
When I in recovery and I am at the depths and the pit of my despair and addiction, I feel very bare naked. I felt very bare naked. I felt very hopeless, helpless, and I didn't want to live. And so it
Mm.
takes you to that point of where it tears you down so much. And I want to let everyone know that if you let life or anything outside of yourself take you down, it'll take you down so far to the point it takes you so long to build your brain chemistry back up. It
Yep.
takes a very long time. And 2014 was actually my first breakdown. And then I wanted to do another breakdown after, after my mom died in my arms tragically.
Mm.
And I literally relapsed and I went back into my addiction because I couldn't handle the anxiety and the fear. I didn't have the tools. I did quit drinking and I felt really good for 2 years, but I didn't have the spiritual life. But now that I'm back in recovery 2.5 years again, I have a spiritual life because I didn't have a spiritual life because of the outside forces. I'm going to share this. My husband, one of his acquaintances in college committed suicide.
Ooh.
And my husband was really upset. And he got really upset because how could a loving God allow someone to take their life when they're asking to get better? Well, it's not God, you know, it's the person deciding I am done. I can't take it anymore. And that was the route they chose. But some people receive it differently. And so I wasn't spiritual for 20 years when I was raising my children because there was so much conflict in my religious situation growing up that I didn't want my children to have to suffer when it came to religion and men's religion and arguing and fighting and man's idea of what God is and all that kind of stuff. So when I came back into recovery, I learned about meditation through Danette May's program.
Nice.
And she taught me self-love through the Rise movement. And she's an amazing human being. And I'm really excited because she's the one that introduced meditation to me. Walking in nature, I've always done, but she introduced the breathing and the self-talk and the walking around. And Les Brown kept me from wanting to go back down the rabbit hole because I didn't want to do it again. Because I remember 2014 and up until now, it's taken me since 2014 till 2022 to get back to where the happy Joanna was back then. I was so happy. I was so happy. My glass is half full all the time, even with my
Nice.
stress.
I
And
love
my
that.
mom used to tell me, you handle it very well considering. And I didn't know what the considering part was, but now that I know what the considering part is,
Mhm.
I can say, you know what? That was them. That was then. That was when they were young. That was when they were ignorant. That wasn't, they didn't know any better because no one taught them any different. And I've been married for 26 years and it's not easy. And I tell my daughter, we're pushing through, right? We go through hard times, we push through, but we have to want that. We
Right.
have to want that. We have to want to have a good relationship with ourselves. It starts with ourselves. And
Absolutely.
our relationship's just a mirror image of us. And
What?
yes, I was pissed off. I started dating, and guess what? He like, oh, Joanna, why do you laugh at painful things? I don't know. I mean, I didn't know, but I took it personally. And after that, I was self-conscious about how I felt. I was really, really hurt by his comment. And then he
Mm.
broke up with me.
The
And I was like,
nerve.
oh, how dare you? How dare you? He was in his own addiction, which was really kind of interesting. But sorry, I have itch. But
Okay.
he totally pointed out something about myself I didn't recognize. And I was so self-conscious after that point. Why can I can't laugh anymore?
Right. Well,
Because
the
I
thing
used to,
is, they say the reflection without is a reflection from within. So when I learned that, my first reaction was like, what the fire truck are you talking about? You know?
yeah,
And it's like, what do you mean? It's like they're treating me wrong and it's them. And my girlfriend looked at me and she said, okay, bring it in. What's going on inside of you right now that you see that on the outside? And I'm going like, oh, oh, you know.
I know it's hard. I mean,
It was tough, and it's like it was so eye-opening, and it's like, oh my gosh, you know, now I can see people when they're all going, you know, flying off the handle and everything. First of all, I don't take it personal anymore because it's on them, it's not on me, you know. And then I'm also going, okay, what do I need to work on me inside right now that this is being brought into my awareness, because clearly I have not learned that lesson yet. So, sometimes you have to take this really close look, and I don't like what I see, you know, and I throw a little fit, but then I'm like, okay, now what do I do? You know, but I mean, that's how it is. And it's like, it's with all our relationships, like you said, you know, he made you realize something within you where you're like, oh.
It was a negative trait. He let me know that it was a negative trait, because if someone's hurting or whatever, and I'm laughing over painful things, they're telling me, they're telling me something very upsetting, and I'm kind of not taking it in, and I'm not digesting what they're telling me. I literally block everything out, because we talked about the fight or flight response. The brain wants to protect me. I'm also,
always. Yes.
I took a class in saboteur with Dr. Philip Agrios, right? So I'm actually what they call a director saboteur, and actually I will actually literally affect relationships based upon my lack of communication, because I'm reading it so negative, right? Because I was raised a victim. Right. My whole adult life was victim mindset. Now I'm not that mindset anymore, and I've gone from zero to hero. So we could be happy. We could be happy if we just got to unpack and unshed the shit that has been put in there by everything outside of ourselves. And once I realized that, my life got better. That's not my problem. Right. I told my daughter yesterday, and I want to share this with the audience. When I read the Boundaries book, Henry Cloud and Townsend, I suggested for those who can't say no to anything, even yourself, you only let you keep the bad out, and you only let the good in. Simplified. And you listen. If you feel uncomfortable, you might not be able to say it to the person you love, because they can't receive it. You've tried it. I've tried saying certain things to somebody for 30 years, and that's just who I am, they say. Well, they're not willing to be uncomfortable. They're not willing to push through the fear. They're protecting themselves from feeling anything. And I literally numb myself out through my addiction, and I'm done with that. I'm feeling now, right? And it's like, I'm okay to feel. When I go into recovery, I have someone that holds me accountable to work the steps, the 12 steps. And the first step, I'll introduce the 3, because that's what saved my life. You have to understand that your life is that mouse wheel, that rat wheel, and that it is uncontrollable, and that you don't have control over it. You have to understand that it's insanity, and that has led you to the pit of despair, of death of yourself inside. And number 2, you have to realize that there is a power greater than yourself that will take you to sanity. It can be God, source, universe, energy. Energy has no beginning, no end. There's no limits on it. There's no limits on it. We put limits on it. We
limit everything. We limit ourselves the most, more than anything. And it's like, if we remove that, it's like, oh, and I can do this. I didn't know. I didn't think I could do this. And look at me go.
Yeah. Last year, I spent so much money on self-improvement. Well, all the successful people spend money on self-improvement every year. Matter of fact, they have they actually put it in their budget. Right. Because you're always constantly having to improve yourself, and that's what makes you happy. And I literally ignored everybody that told me anything negative. I removed myself from situations that were negative. I didn't want to talk about anything negative, and I didn't want anybody to tell me I couldn't do anything.
I love that.
Because that had been a problem. Even my own family members, Les Brown taught me, don't listen. Don't listen to anybody. Fail forward. Fail over and again, because that's the way you learn. My mom taught me in the hospital before I took her home and she passed away. within 20 minutes. She told me things that she would have done different if she could have.
Right.
She was 78 and she was learning till she died. And life is about learning. And when the student's ready, the teacher will appear.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the
is,
other thing too is when we get the well-meaning advice, I said the well-meaning, you know, it's what we need to understand is that is coming from that person's own limiting beliefs and their
yes,
own fears and everything. It has nothing to do with us. It has nothing to do with what we want to do. And it has not even anything to do with they want us to fail. It has nothing to do with that. It's really all their own personal fears. And I have a little saying pinned up on my wall. It says, I don't care. Don't tell me why it won't work. Help me figure out how it can work. And we can talk.
Yes. Yes, the glass is half full. And that's where happiness begins. And I love your movement. I really do. And I've always been happy. I've always been positive. I've always taken the best out of a bad situation. I was taught that. But I don't have to stay.
Right.
And
we're going to talk a little bit more on the happiness side of things, because, you know, happiness does matter. After the break, we'll be right back.
Wait, you want some more?
Welcome back. Again, me, Beanie Man, your host, and my awesome guest, Jojo, with Jojo's Mojo. I love that. I like just Jojo's Mojo. It's just, I mean, just saying that adds so much to my happiness. And it's like, it's raising my vibration. It's like Jojo's Mojo.
I love that vibration.
I just love it. So let's talk happiness, because you are, I mean, you shared with us all the stuff that happened to you growing up and the things you've overcome and you had to unlearn and relearn and, you know, experience and everything. And you are one of the happiest people I have met in a very long time. You really do exude happiness. It's like when I first met you, we met at the Ultimate Speaker Competition here in Colorado Springs, just in October, end of October. And your energy, you are so bubbly, you're so happy, and you just like, yay, let's have a party, let's make this happen, and let's have fun day. You know, and I just love that. I love that, because I mean, happiness really does matter. It is so important. And what most people don't understand is happiness has nothing to do with, you know, when you have this big house and the money and all of this junk. This is just stuff. It has nothing to do with your happiness. It can add to your happiness, but it's not ever going to make you happy. Happiness is a choice. You choose to be happy. At some point, you're like, you know what, man, the life that I've been living is really not working for me. I'm not having fun, you know. And it's like, because here's a thing. We are spiritual beings having a physical experience.
Yes, we are.
And our purpose is to learn, to grow, and most of all, to have fun. Have fun. And it's important. So share a little bit about, for you, what adds to your happiness, and what was like really the moment, if you remember it, where it's like, wow, I am, you know, kind of like the moment where you decided to be happy, to take your power back.
Okay. I was walking I usually walk outside, and I've walked outside for a very long time, probably 15 years. I've been taking care of myself the best of my abilities under a lot of stress, and I didn't have the tools. So I was walking in my city of Duarte, and I was thinking about my dad, and I was thinking about how much trauma he went through. I was listening to Lisa Nichols and joining her program, How to Be a Speaker, before Les Brown. I was walking down the street, and I got an aha moment because I had been with Danette May for over a year. And I literally went to Sacramento to meet her a year after my mom's death, because I wanted to meet her in person. And I was walking down the street, and Lisa Nichols was talking about writing a book. And I wanted to write a book, and I wanted to understand what my why was at the time. And I was a caregiver for 3 years of a veteran that was my sister's father-in-law, who lived down here in Southern California with me, and they lived out of state. So they asked me to keep an eye on him. So I ended up keeping an eye on him. And that was in 2014 when my addiction took over. I literally was under 5 years of stress at work from being bullied. And I wanted to run my car in the median. On the way home, my addiction got so bad, I didn't want to live. And I got this vision, run your car in the median. And this voice was telling me to do it. And I, wait a minute, no, because I have children, they need me, you know? And so at that point, going for the walk, watching another veteran, my dad's age, if my dad would have lived, not drinking at 48 because he was going to die, sharing his story with me at 82 years old, he became my Maury. Tuesdays with Maury, but it was Tuesdays with Bob. And he was sober, and I was learning to be sober. I was on 3 medications just to keep myself alive. I was going into outpatient and driving down the road when your body's telling you to end it. I understand that guy that killed himself. That was my husband's acquaintance. I understand how that feeling is. And at that point, I'm like, you know what? I need to not go there. My family needs me. My daughters need me. And that's when I decided to be happy again. It wasn't easy, but going for walks outside really opens your body, your cells, the energy, the breathing, the calming, just the earth itself. And it's really amazing. And that was the point where I decided to do something about it. I knew that I needed to help people with PTSD. I knew I needed to help people that were in trauma, people that were addicted to things, people that were hurting just as much as I was. And recovery helped me so much. It taught me that I have a voice. And that's when I decided to be happy again. I said, that. People are so unhappy. I work for customer service, and everybody's faces like this. I lived through COVID for over 2 years, seeing everybody under a lot of stress. And it was like, they enjoy my bubbliness. And I was always happy before. I had no problems at all. No one pointed out I had problems. They always pointed out the good things. And so I'm going back to that. I'm going back to the fact that nothing is going to stop me. Nothing's going to bring me down. Not even a family member, my husband, nobody. I love them.
That's awesome.
But this is my life. This is my choice.
Right. And and the best way to lead and to show others is by example. It's like, no, see, this is what I'm doing and it's working for me, copy that, and it's like, there's so many, they're like this, do as I say, not as I do. Like, no, thank you.
Hypocrisy is really out there.
Right. And I'm like, no. And I'm just doing my thing. And I love it because people are like, wow, how did that happen? Where did that come from? Where did you appear from? And I'm like, well, I was always there.
You were just quiet. You were just quiet because you were afraid.
Right. Well, that, and sometimes I just sit back and I just watch, because by watching what's going on around me and with others, I learn about me. I'm like, oh, I need to work on that. And then I go within and I work on that and I clear all that, so I can come back stronger, and I can come back more vibrant and, colorful. That's why, as you see, I love my rainbow colors, because to me, rainbow is a color and unicorns are real. Okay, that's my philosophy. And it's
Yes.
fantastic. And of course, I get people looking at me like, what? Now I'm like, hey, in my world, that's how it is. I don't know what your world looks like, but in my world, if you want to come into my world, I'll be happy to show you, But yeah, and it is so important because when we exude what we talk to people and tell people and I don't want to use preach, but what we say and who we are, but then our actions coincide with that, people will take notice and people are like, oh, well, I want what she's doing. What is she up to? For
Well,
real. Because
anybody
I know
can
how
do
I
it.
am. I was like, oh, wait a minute. They're so happy. What's their secret? I want to know. Yeah.
Well, the
And
secret is that's not my problem.
well, there's that too. And and it comes from within. I'm here with Jojo, with Jojo's Mojo. I just love. I don't. It doesn't get old saying it. Jojo's Mojo.
It will never get old.
And it'll never get old. No. So speaking of that, so you have your show on Mopo TV, and with Mopo Entertainment, and that's how I got in, because I was like, say what now?
Say what?
Talk about manifesting, like boom, because 2 days before we talked about it, and I signed up with Mopo, I put out to the universe, I was like, I'm putting this book together, Happiness Matters, where I'm collecting people's stories to share, to give hope and inspire and all of that. And I put out to the universe, it's like, but it needs to be more. It needs to be more than a book. And I don't know what. And here's me talking to the universe, is like, show me, just give it to me. Because attitude and all that, just give it to me. And the universe laughed and said, okay, here you go. And literally like 2 or 3 days later, bam, there it was. So how did you end up with Mopo? How did you come?
Well, I met Danette May 2.5 years ago. I had a friend who was sick most of her life physically. And so she would cook everything organically. And she found Danette May on Facebook. And Danette May actually is a fitness coach for many years.
Nice.
But she does do recipes and stuff like that, which is really cool, with her meditations, with her exercise programs for years. And she's very successful. But I met somebody in Sacramento a year after my mom died that was helping Danette May out on a crew. And I met her, and then she started Mopo Entertainment in the founding years of Mopo Entertainment.
Back when.
Yeah, her name was Holly. She was on the first few episodes. I was Holly's friend, and Holly saw what I was doing in the world and wanted to bring me into Mopo to put advertising in my shows, advertising on my page and all this kind of stuff. And she invited me to do this class called Rock the Mic. And that's included in the membership, where Michelle teaches you breathing techniques, how to be on stage, how to overcome fear on stage, and different things. And it was like $99.
I love
it. Was like, it's $99, but you get it in the membership, which is $7.99, but it's going up to $15 something as of now, when your show comes up, when the show is happening right now. So it's up now, but it was $7.99. So I met Holly and I met Michelle because I joined Rock the Mic class. And then Michelle invited me to the Wednesday classes. And then
the rest is history.
And the rest is history. Just like, yeah. And through Holly Lombardi, I met Michelle. And it just, from there, I just decided to go from one entertainment company to Mopo, because Mopo was in action. Mm-hmm. What they say is what they did.
And I love the people in our familia here. The support and I mean, it just adds so much to my happy. And I know that whatever I need, questions I have, I just put it in our group chat, and there's like everybody's answering. And I'm like, wow, so much love, so much support, which is totally new to me.
It's possible.
I know. And I was like, this is awesome. I love this. And it's just like, this is what I've been looking for. It's like a home for my show, because I started Happiness Matters, the show, back in was it 2018, 2009? I think it was 2019. I don't even
Cool.
remember. It's been a hot minute, you know. But when I stepped into me and I started that show on YouTube. And I mean, there's the, you know, I mean, it was fun. It was doing it. I had people interviews and there's some really awesome interviews, you know. And then with the whole coronacation thing, you know, I put it all on hold and it's just like my heart wasn't in it. Because it's like, you know, there's really no traction. I don't even know if people are watching it. No, there's no interaction. There's no nothing. And but most of all, it was all on me. I was all alone. I was that lone wolf. You know, there was no support. There was nobody I could ask anything. There was none of that. I mean, I had a blast. I had a ton of fun, ton of fun, you know. But now coming with Mopo, I'm having a ton of fun with all the support and the learning. And I tell you, that class, Rock the Mic, is so much fun. It is awesome to watch and do, you know, and I'm like, oh, that's what I'm doing wrong. Oh, that's where I can improve on, you know, and it's like, to me, that's huge. And then it's like, it seems like almost every day when I go on the website on mupotv.com, it's like, oh, look, more shows. I love it. I love it. It's like, oh, there's more in the queue coming. And it's like, wow, this is so awesome. And I love the diversity of it, you know. And I tell you what, Jojo, thank you from the bottom of my heart for introducing me and bringing me on.
You are like, so welcome.
It's really, I mean, it's so cliche, but it's really a dream come true. It's the whole
dreams do come true and unicorns are real.
That's right, they are. And that's why dreams come true, because unicorns are real. Yeah, well, you know, I mean, it's for reals.
Things happen the way they're supposed to. I told my 18-year-old daughter, I said, things happen the way they're supposed to.
There are no coincidences.
And do not fear.
Right.
Because
well, the thing is essentially everything that happens for our highest good.
Yes, it does.
We may not agree with it. We may not see it at the time. But when we connect the dots backwards, you know, the 2020 hindsight, I was like, oh, wow, if that wouldn't have happened, then this wouldn't, and da. I mean, it wasn't great at the time, and, you know, it probably could have been better, but then if that would have been, and it just would have been different. You know, and it's like, I learned more and more that everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. It's that simple.
Yeah,
like, again, we may not agree with it. And the gifts we get from the universe, from God, whatever you want to call it, they don't come packed. I mean, 99.9% of the time, they don't come packaged the way you want it with a bow on it to where it's obvious.
No bow.
Nope. But it's those little things, and you're going like, oh. So I learned to say yes when opportunity knocks. I just say yes, and then I'm going like, oh, now what do I do? It's like,
Well, we do have to say no to certain things, because I love to spend money. I just do.
Well, I mean,
I'm having to tell myself no.
Retail therapy is fantastic, but the downside.
You have to earn it to spend it.
Right. Well, I mean, you have to have that balance. You have to do the right. You know, I mean, if you go into destitute because you keep saying yes, maybe that's not the smartest thing to do. Okay. I mean, it's really simple.
It is. Huh? It is a high, and actually it is an addiction, because you get the high, right?
Right.
I think, and that's just the serotonin in your brain. So we need to figure out different ways to get the serotonin released in our brains.
Mm-hmm. See, for me, I'm a creative. So for me to really work on the show and put it together and do all of that, my inner nerd, she's doing somersaults. She is so, I was talking to my girlfriend this morning. She goes, what are you doing today? I said, oh, I'm going to have interview, and then I'm going to work on my show. And she laughs and she goes, your inner nerd is just so happy right now, isn't she? I'm like, oh, you have no idea.
Well, you're having fun. You're having fun. You're doing what your heart tells you to do, and you're listening to your intuition.
Exactly.
How much better can you have it?
Not much better than that. So this is, yeah, I mean, yeah, my heart is just so full. So, but anyway.
Mine too, with you.
Jojo, you are amazing. I love you. Thank you so much for being on the show.
I love you too, Beanie.
This great things are coming. Y'all stay tuned, man, because woo-wee.
Oh, hell yes. To the
Hey, so
yes.
if people want to get a hold of you, how can they get a hold of you?
Jojo Bricker-Clyer on Facebook. Jojo Clyer on Instagram. Joanna Clyer on LinkedIn. I also have 3 books: Resilience to Greatness, The Women of the Power Voice, and Boss Your Lane. I have a chapter in all 3 of those books, and I'm going to be selling them very soon.
And don't forget Jojo's Mojo on MopoTV.com.
Entertainment. Jojo's Mojo on Mopo Entertainment, MopoTV.com.
I love
and
it.
I'm excited.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you. Y'all guys stay tuned. I'm going to do a short little commercial, and then we're going to go into the tip of the week. Thanks, Joanne.
You're welcome.
Hey, welcome back. And here's your tip for the week. And this week's quote is from Charles F. Glassman, and it's the Elimination Diet. Remove anger, regret, resentment, guilt, blame, and worry, then watch your health and life improve. And as you heard with Jojo, once she removed all of this junk and made room for the good stuff, her whole life changed. Everything is changing. It's for all of us. When we remove all the things that hold us down and hold us back and clutter everything up, we make room for the better things in life. That's why we do spring cleaning. Well, most of us anyway. Anyway, so yeah, remove all the stuff that does not serve you so you can have room for all the good things in life. And that's the tip of the week. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Remember, be happy, be kind, be love, and I will see you all next week. Bye.